issues going Facebook Live, but doesn't mean you guys have to miss dinner. So let's look at this. Look at this reflection. It's like opening a golden like thing up when I open the kit. I like these lids. Gives a little cinnamon like drama to the thing. Okay. So taking a look at our meal kit here, I'm gonna tilt my camera down. Should all have the same stuff. Panko Bread Crumbs, marinara, chicken breast, mozzarella, eggs, oil, flour, Romano cheese, granulated garlic, a little bit of salt, basil, and butter. So for our chicken parm, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get all the mixed stuff done first before we cut the chicken, so we don't have to go ahead then and wash our board until after we're done cooking. So I'm going to bring this down to a level where you guys could see a little bit better. Back it up. All right. So all right, so you guys got a clear view of my board here, right? I like this. It looks so professional. First thing we're going to do is get your bowls or containers to make our breading mix. Again, if you guys take other classes like this and you get these black containers or even from the market, save them for our cooking classes because they're perfect for doing raw ingredients, and then you can just throw them in the garbage. So flour.
4. Egg in 1, flour in the other.
Flour in 1?
I'll do it.
Flour in 1, egg in 1, and then we're going to build our breadcrumb mixture in the other one.
The breadcrumbs. What's over there?
What's he doing?
Scrambling eggs.
Oh. All 4 eggs? You do all 4 eggs?
You're doing a double recipe, then yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fine.
Don't worry, I don't want to shake.
Okay. So, first thing we're going to do then is build our breading mix. So our breading mix has the Panko Bread Crumbs, our grated Romano cheese, granulated garlic, and our salt. Now this mix is awesome. Having the I muted myself. There we go. All right. So having the cheese in here when we actually cook this is going to give it a very brown, nutty, kind of almost salty flavor. So you want to go ahead and just mix your breadcrumb mixture up to make sure that your salt and cheese and garlic powder are all mixed together. We got a great turnout for this class. There's like 11 or 12 people in here. Okay. So this is our 3-step breading. Flour, beaten egg, and then the breadcrumbs, okay? So we use this for the chicken today. You can do it if you're doing a veal Parmigiana, egg, you know, if you want to do a breaded eggplant Parmigiana, you can do this. But if you took our eggplant parm class, you probably saw that we don't normally do it this way. The next thing we're going to do is take our fresh mozzarella. Now for fresh mozz, we have these little balls. You can use the big balls. You can use slices of dried mozzarella. You can use shredded mozzarella. I just like to break them up a little, just so they melt and brown a little more easily when we actually make the chicken dish, when we put this in the oven. So any size fresh mozzarella is just fine for doing this. Okay. And that is all of our actual like items we're going to do until we get into the raw meat. So now we're going to go with the chicken. And again, if you guys remember, I'm a bit of a glove nut.
In the oil.
I'm going to show you how we're going to cut this chicken.
Hey, Mike, is the oil supposed to be heated?
Not yet.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay. So you each got a 6-ounce chicken breast. Now, when I make chicken parm at home, I often do it with a chicken thigh, just because I love boneless thighs. I love it. But you can use chicken breast. You can do an airline breast where it has a little bone coming out. Again, I said you can do this with veal. You can do this with pork. Any kind of meat you want to do it with. You're going to take the breast. And now the breast has two sides here. You have the smoother side of the breast, and then you have the inside divoted area. This is the area where it meets the center of the breast itself. So the other breast would be actually on this side. So we're going to cut the rounded side. So what I like to do is place the chicken breast flat, curve my fingers up, okay, to make sure I don't actually hurt myself. And then using the knife on a pretty deep angle, I'm going to do long slices. Now make sure your knife is sharp or sharp-ish. And once you get your first slice, you pull this open and create a little tension and continue to do so. Now what you're looking for is you want to get that perfect heart shape. This is called a butterfly chicken breast, okay? And it takes some practice, but the other thing it is it's even in thickness all the way across. Now, you probably didn't get it exactly to this point, and don't worry about it if you didn't. Any part that might be a little thicker, you can just kind of press with the heel of your hand to smooth it out a little. And what happens is once this is smooth, it's going to give a nice even cooking all the way through. It's also going to cook a little faster because it's not as thick in certain areas. For the breading process then, we're going to evenly coat this in the flour. And you don't want like a super heavy amount of flour, but you want to make sure there's enough, because once we mix this flour with the egg, we have basically a glue. So it goes from the flour right into the beaten egg.
You're dipping it in the egg.
In the egg after
Yeah.
the flour.
So you can see it's got this nice, lovely kind of natural glue to it. And then it'll go into our breadcrumb mix, okay? Now, say I was having company over later and I wanted to do these, I would bread them ahead of time, or I would at least leave them in the egg mixture, because I don't want to bread these too early or they get soggy. And then when you reheat them, or when you go to cook them, you have a soggy, not a crispy, crunchy kind of chicken breast. I used to work with this guy, Johnny, and he loved staying crispy and crunchy for everything that he ate. So everything was crispy, crunchy. It was hysterical. But that was like his signature line. So every time I say it, I think of him. All right. So now say I go ahead and pre-bread these, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to have guests over, but I got all this messy part done. Keep the breadcrumbs and dip them back in here right before you go into the pan, because that'll add more of a crunchy texture to the outside. Okay. And now we're going to set this aside. I'm going to move the board and bring the pan over. And now we can start heating our pan on a medium-high heat. So I'll wait and I'll let you guys catch up to that point. How you guys doing so far, all right?
Good.
It's fine. Maybe.
Look at this. I am becoming a master of angles now. I mean, I've figured out this whole camera thing. You don't get to see me as much, but that's okay.
Mute.
What? You didn't say it.
Yeah, you did.
You did?
Yeah.
Here.
Laurel, you all caught up already?
Yeah, I'm
You're
just, I think, did I miss something?
No, you should have the
Heated.
chicken. You should have the chicken breaded. You're becoming a ninja in the kitchen.
I am, thanks to you.
So we,
Okay.
Okay,
So when you heat your pan, you want to give it time to heat up, right? The metal is going to expand. It's going to open up pores like on your skin. And then we're going to add the oil into it. Now, you can start with the oil right away, but it doesn't heat evenly, and it's just kind of bad practice to do it that way. So I'm letting my pan heat up. Don't test the heat of your pan like this, I always say, but I always do it. Now I'm going to add the oil in. For this size pan, I'm using about half the oil. I want to have a good layer of oil on the bottom, but I'm not looking to completely like float and deep fry the chicken. You can see the cracks happening in here. That means our oil is heating up. What's happening is the fat is at different density, whether it's hot or cold. So it's starting to separate and give that ripple look.
okay. We have oil left over.
You will most likely have oil left over. All right, so everyone ready to see the magic? Yay! All right, now to test our oil, to see if it's hot enough, take your chicken and just give a little shake of one piece over here. You should see the breadcrumbs start to fry and sizzle. If they're not, we're gonna wait a second before we put the chicken in, because if the oil is not properly heated, the breading's not gonna stick on the chicken. Okay, it's gonna all get stuck at the bottom of the pan, and then we don't have a crispy, crunchy chicken breast, and then somebody's angry. When you place your oil in the chicken, now remember this, now you look at where my body is, right? When you put anything into hot oil, you wanna put it down and then press it back away from you. What that's gonna do is if it goes in and something splashes, it's splashing away versus toward you. I've learned that the hard way many times. And now what I'm gonna do over this medium-high heat is I wanna just sit and let this kind of do its thing. I want these breadcrumbs to toast. I want the cheese to caramelize a little bit. I want the eggs to set in the crust. That's what we're looking for to get to this point. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of the butter when this is about halfway cooked through in the pan before we flip it. Now you don't have to add the butter, but it adds a lot of flavor. It helps it brown really nice. A little trick I learned a while back at an Italian restaurant I was working at. I'm gonna add the butter in. Now, obviously, we don't do this here. I mean, chicken Parmigiana here is healthy. But so now, if I were to do this and just leave this chicken, cook it through, that's it, no sauce, no cheese, I have chicken Milanese. So technically, you're learning 2 dishes in this class. Lucky. But this principle is the basic principle for any kind of breaded cutlet that you're doing, whether it's chicken, steak, pork, anything like that. And you can see now the chicken's starting to brown a little, but we're not there yet. It's just spotting. So we want to let it go until it evenly browns through. Now this is going to go in the oven for a few minutes, so it's going to continue to brown a little bit more as well. Any questions up to this point? Nope. I hear a lot of frying and popping in the background. That's a great sound to hear. I like that. All right. I am going to flip my chicken if you guys want to see what it should look like. You see that great golden brown color in there? Now, Now this will brown more when we put it in the oven. Keep that in mind. But you want it to have some nice elements of just caramelization and toasted coloring. So when I flip it, I'm going to let it cook for a minute on this side, and then I'm going to dump this oil out and put this whole pan in the oven. Okay? It's going to continue. Now, these breadcrumbs underneath have already grabbed all the oil they need to grab, so dumping this excess oil out doesn't mean that it's going to stick. So let me dump this, and I'm going to throw this in the oven, and I'll be right back. All right. How you guys doing so far?
Good.
Good. I like seeing thumbs up. That's awesome. That's enthusiastic. Have you guys all made chicken parm before?
No, I haven't.
No?
Nope.
Good.
What heat is the pan supposed to be at?
I'm sorry?
The pan heat, medium high?
Medium high, yeah.
Don't touch
A
it.
properly preheated medium high.
Got it.
How do I
Okay.
know if my pan can for sure go in the oven?
Well, you could transfer it to a different pan that could once you get it brown on both
I'm a
sides.
bit worried about that. Okay, yeah.
Do you have one with like a plastic handle or something?
No, but it's like a green pan, and it's just
Oh, yeah.
a little worried.
Those things are incredible.
Yeah.
My mother got one as a gift, and she's like, "Oh, try it out." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I made eggs in it, and I didn't use any oil, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah.
I was shocked. And you can tell I don't shut up much. So,
So should
actually-
we go ahead and put it in the oven then?
yeah, throw it in the oven
Okay.
Mike, when do we add the butter?
while you're frying the chicken before you flip it.
Oh, before you flip it.
You can add it now. If you already flipped it, you can still add it.
All right.
Chef, I'm sorry, but I missed the initial audio. What temperature is the oven supposed to be at?
400.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In the pan.
In this?
No, on this. We're baking it right in the pan.
Can I
Put the whole pan in the oven. Oh, I don't know. It's really good.
So the next part is we have our marinara sauce, just so you guys are aware. This is what we're going to need to finish the dish is the marinara, the mozzarella, and the basil. And a plate, obviously. And a fork so you could eat it. But what I'm doing now is I'm cooking the chicken. And I want the chicken to cook through. Now, I could add the sauce and the cheese now and let it cook, and it'll cook just the same. But the chicken will get soggier. If I want to maximize the crispiness of the chicken parm and actually make it so that when I eat it, there's texture, I cook the chicken first. Then we're going to put the sauce and cheese on just to heat the sauce and melt it. So it's a little different approach to it, but make sure you have a nice crispy then chicken Parmigiana. Because normally you get it and it's soggy and it's like, I don't know, it's just like eating a mouthful of mush. So I like to make sure it's completely cooked first. Let me check my bird.
Oh, it's just the baby. Hi, how are you? Is the baby cooking too?
What's that?
Is the baby cooking too?
The baby cooking? Yes, she is. Teach him young.
There you go. Hi.
Jillian,
Sounds very much so.
Look at that little face.
What are you
Sounds
doing there?
cute.
Burning.
Love it.
Yeah, get your.
We did the steak at home, cooking a steak at home class yesterday at my house. And because I wanted to do it in my home, cooking with everyone like they do. And my wife, we had to feed the kids dinner at 4:15, and then we put them downstairs with a movie. And I was just staring at the basement door, waiting for one of them to barge through the whole time. They didn't though. They were good. We gave them ice cream. So. Hey.
Our 4-year-old is upstairs watching a Paw Patrol right now.
Oh, it's the best. Paw Patrol's a savior. right, I'm gonna pull my chicken out of the oven. 1 second. All right, so you can see here the color that the chicken's got. It's picked up a lot more color. Mine is cooked through, and if you're curious, I'll show you a trick on how you can find out.
See it looking. Right on the yellow.
Move the camera down here. There we go. So if I am curious if my chicken's cooked through, you could just take your tongs, pierce right in, and then bend it, and you can see it's completely white inside. And there's a separation of the muscle. So what happens is, instead of being that smooth, kind of brownish, pinkish color, it becomes white, and you can see all the little grains in the muscle, and that's what means that it's cooked through. So for this step, I'll get you guys a good angle here. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna take the sauce and spoon it right on top of the chicken.
Look, he's putting it.
Now, you have a lot more sauce than you need. And the whole point of that is if you want to heat some on the side to put it underneath the chicken, or if you want to make a side of pasta, we gave it to you. So you just need enough to cover the chicken breast. And then spread the cheese on.
Mom, it has to go in the oven for a certain amount of time.
He didn't put it in.
Yes, he did.
Jeff, do you sell the marinara sauce?
We're gonna starting next week.
It's so good.
Oh, thank you. So I'm gonna put this back in the oven now that I have an even layer of the cheese as well. And this is gonna cook until that cheese melts and becomes that beautiful brown color.
Mike, how long does it stay in the oven the first time around?
It depends on your thickness, but mine ended up staying in the oven for about 5-6 minutes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Oh my goodness, answer the phone. It's probably a telemarketer.
Sounds like a home phone.
Yeah.
Don't hear those often.
No, we got rid of ours about 2 years ago because it didn't make sense. We have iPads, we have cell phones, we have everything you need to be able to get a hold of someone. But we had one up until about 2 years ago.
It looks good, Chef.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Doing well.
Did you put the timer
Let's see.
Mr. Chin's looks good.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brian.
look at that. It's like a pro putting that cheese on there.
Learn from the best.
So now you can use any kind of cheese you want. I love using like a provolone is great because it's got a little bit of that tang to it. Fresh mozzarella is awesome because it gives a soft, rich mouthfeel. Dry mozzarella is great because it's going to brown really well. So there's all different types of cheeses you could use. I've had people do it with scamorza, which is really awesome. I had it. I had a breaded chicken cutlet like this in Italy, and they put melted scamorza on it, and it was incredible. So you can use all different types of cheese. I like, all different variations, just kind of based on how I'm feeling. But yeah, I've even had people make this with dairy-free cheeses, and it's worked really well too. If you're dairy-free, then obviously you just omit the breadcrumb or the cheese from the breadcrumb mix, and then use a dairy-free cheese. So it's cool. And we also use a gluten-free Panko Bread Crumbs that we have in-house too. So you can make this gluten-free if you use, say, rice flour for the initial step, and then the gluten-free panko in the rest of the mix. So there's all sorts of variations you can do to it.
No, you put it in the oven.
Is everyone in the oven with their chicken?
The oven and the chicken goes in the oven 400 degrees.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, let me check on mine.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, how you doing, Laurel?
Good,
It was fun.
isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Thank God, because I don't think I'd be cooking like
Yep.
this
That you don't
unless
have.
I was at your house.
Much do you
I'm
want?
sorry, I couldn't hear.
Be eating like this unless I was at your house.
So,
Right.
so what are we drinking tonight with our chicken parm?
Chianti?
Nice.
Pinot Noir.
There you go.
Every day.
Every time the camera goes on me, I'm drinking a sip.
You are not alone. Every single class, all you see, I actually see glasses with liquid in them more than I see frying pans and
Cheers.
cutting boards. Cheers. Me, I have coffee. I have my coffee, so I'll join y'all in a toast. So at this point, it's just a waiting game. I'm waiting for the chicken to finish. It's going to take another minute or two, just because I want that. All I'm cooking for now, because the chicken's cooked, is that cheese coloring I want, that melt in the cheese and all that. So we're just going to wait a minute for that, and I'll show you how we played it up.
We cook these?
Let's see. Don't put any on mine.
No.
I don't want any.
Where's yours?
First one. This one.
Is the baby at least going to wash dishes tonight?
Nobody is.
Baby has to start pulling her weight.
How old is she?
4 months.
About 4 months.
Oh, wow. That's fun. We have my little one just turned 1 month yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or yesterday? No. Yeah, yesterday.
So you're not sleeping either.
Yeah, you should call us at 2 in the morning.
This is our fourth, so we have a system. I normally stay up till like 3 a.m. and then my wife wakes up for the next feeding. Works out well.
Good.
Kind of, but.
We hear you.
All right, let me get the chicken.
Chicken.
Okay, so. Brian, are you impressed at my angles with the camera? So the chicken's gotten a nice, like the cheese has gotten a little bit of a golden brown color to it. I'm gonna take this chicken breast and put it right on the plate with a little bit of marinara. Now, using the fresh mozzarella, it doesn't like melt and ooze like a dry mozzarella would. So it's gonna stick together a little better, which is really cool when you take bites on it. You can make sure every piece has a nice chunk of it. If you use the drier cheese like a sliced deli mozzarella, it's gonna coat evenly all over the chicken, which is delicious as well. It's just a matter of how cheesy you do or don't want your chicken parm. Then I'm gonna take some fresh basil and tear it over the top to finish it. And this is just gonna add just a layer of freshness to this fried, cheesy, saucy dish. So it just adds a little bit of variety and textures. And then if you look here, this whole edge is super, super crispy on this chicken. And that's what I was going for, is I wanted to make sure this was crispy and the bottom's crispy. And now the top, no matter what, that's gonna get a little soggy because you bake it with sauce. But the rest of it is gonna have crunch, it's gonna have flavor, it's gonna have texture. And that's how we make a chicken Parmigiana. So, any questions on that?
That looks good.
So, any questions?
Oh, this was great, Chef. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you. Looks
good.
delicious.
Thanks,
are
Mike.
you just curious, when we get back into operation, you guys ever gonna eat here, or are you just gonna keep cooking everything that we do on this class?
What about?
Level ball? Okay, good. We'll split the time together. We'll
I
split
miss
it up.
people.
Oh, man. All right, well, thank you guys. Great job. Have a great night.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you soon for another meal kit. All right.
Okay.
Happy
Bye.
Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thank you.
Bye.